You can get all the education in the world and be a genius and do all these different types of seminars. Like we know a lot of doctors that do it and a lot of business owners that do it, but then they don't put it to work the next day.
I didn't think I would ever do a fucking podcast. I didn't ever imagine doing that. It made me realize that my purpose is to help others reach the goals and reach their full capacity. And if I can impact somebody's life, that is bigger than money. That is bigger than anything else.
What's up, guys? This is Dr. Plains and my co-host Jeremy Applegate with Livestream, where we teach you how to stream your life. Guys, if you like our podcast, click like, subscribe, join our community. We're excited to have you be a part of this. So today we have I wouldn't say amazing, but this is a very controversial topic.
I agree. Controversial is a good word.
Controversial.
Yeah.
Would you guys rather have education versus experience?
Dun.
Write down some comments below, please.
Yeah, I mean, when you go into a doctor, do you want somebody that's been doing it for 10 years or somebody that's that has all the paper behind them?
I would rather have the experience.
Yeah.
I would definitely rather have the experience. And the reason I know that is because I'm not the same dentist that I was in year 1 or year 3 versus where I am now in year 10.
And why is that?
Experience.
Hey.
It's experience. You learn from your mistakes. And as us as humans, we tend to learn better from our mistakes and the challenges that we go through. If you graduate, whether it's, Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Columbia or, the top schools in the country, yes, the education is very important, but what matters the most after time is experience. So you got to be able to put the two together. So let me elaborate a little bit on this. So, for example, this year I wanted to go learn how to do sinus lifts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Sinus lift is like level 4, level 5 in surgical dentistry. I had to get training on single implants, multiple implants, full arches before I even considered doing a sinus lift. So I had to get education and experience in order to gain education and experience to do the sinus lift. So they work in tandem.
Yes.
They work together.
Yes.
Because you cannot go in there and do a sinus lift if you haven't read the literature to understand how to even start a sinus lift, for example.
Yes, you're right, and I'm going to joke a little bit about this, but I'm sure there's guys out there that try to do it without the education.
Yes, YouTube. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah, I walked into an office one time, and the doctor there was a little new, and instead of reaching out to a mentor or to somebody that has the experience with pulling out a tooth, that doctor was watching a YouTube video on how to get a tooth.
Yes, that's a great story. I learned how to put chains. I had to learn how to put chains on my tires in Tennessee to go up the mountain. Sorry. And the way I figured it out was through YouTube.
Okay, tires, cool. Chains on tires, cool.
It isn't cool because if I don't put I don't put the tires correctly, guess what's going to happen to my car? We're just going to go backwards and possibly, explode.
Well, yeah, but that's I think that's a DIY thing. You do it yourself thing, right? I don't know, but pulling a tooth.
You can't do a filling, Jeremy?
You want me to do your filling for you?
I trust you.
You do? All right.
Yeah, I think if you watch enough YouTube, I think you can figure it out.
We're going to record that. All right, I'm going to do a filling for Doc if he needs one.
No, but in all seriousness.
Let me do your exam first.
All right, sounds good. In all seriousness, you got to definitely get education. It's very important to get it. I'm constantly doing education. I advocate education. But for example, like I'm always talking about books and podcasts and, becoming a better version of yourself. But if you don't put it to work, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
If you're not constantly being intentional about it, it doesn't matter. You can get all the education in the world and be a genius and do all these different types of seminars. Like we know a lot of doctors that do it and a lot of business owners that do it, but then they don't put it to work the next day.
Yeah, I think that with respect to college and, stuff like that, I think that's a foundation. That is not, you don't hang your hat on that.
Correct.
That's your foundation. That helps you build who you're going to be as a person. And I love how you said all the self-development stuff because that's relevant as well. And continue education as a doctor, obviously. And I think that, there's some opportunity there for people, for non-doctors to do that as well.
Yeah.
Like, self-development is an easy thing to do. Listen to a podcast, it's just relevant.
Well, we go to education. I spent over $450,000 in my education.
Yep.
Once things were said and done, plus all the thousands of dollars I put throughout my last 9 to 10 year career. And it's very important that we understand that. What does that do? It creates discipline in you.
Correct.
That's why in schools they have block scheduling. That's why they make you go from one building to the other. That's why there's rotational schedules. That's why there's sometimes they're going to start in the early morning and finish in the midday, and sometimes you'll start in the midday and finish in the evening. It's to create discipline and commitment within yourself. And structure, correct. Yeah. It's correct. So if you were to ask me, would you rather have education versus experience? It all depends on how much education this person has and how much experience does he really have. It doesn't mean that if you graduate, you might not know more than a doctor that has been practicing for 10 years, because you also got to evaluate the character of the person.
Yeah.
If he's a sloppy person or he's a sloppy guy or female, he's going to be sloppy no matter how much experience he has throughout his life.
Yeah, and I think I'm just talking out loud here, and this is, I kind of feel like sometimes people that have experience over education, they're more disorganized, and that can be a skill set that is difficult in some roles in organizations.
Yep. Organizational skills are very, very important. It all depends also on the role. Yeah. I mean, you get a guy that graduates from MIT, that's somebody that you really, really want working on you, or working on the project that you assign them to do it.
Yeah, I agree, because he's going to be, or she's going to be, up to code, my word, and you're going to be able to ask them all sorts of questions, IT related, just because you said MIT, and they're going to have the answer, because they're going to be ready to go.
Let me ask you a question, and I just came up with this question. At what point should you drop out of college?
Drop out of college?
Yes, and say, I'm going to start my business. I'm done with this. I don't need to do this. I can figure out ways to make income that don't require me to go to school.
If you've started, I would say finish, but you can do both at the same time. If you're a disciplined person and you have, the structure behind you, and you're motivated and you're prepared to, you have resilience and fortitude, you can do both. But if you started something, I'm always a guy that, if I started, I'm going to finish it, so that's just me. But we do have a lot of those. Like, look at the professional athletes.
Yes.
They go to college for 2 years and they jump in the NFL and they don't finish their degree, but they go back.
Sometimes they do.
At least they say they do.
No, they get it. They go.
So, I mean, I think
they
it's
just want to go
person.
experience it back again.
Yeah, I agree.
The good life.
The good life.
I've been dying to go back to school.
What?
I mean, those are the best times of your life, dude. It really is.
They were fun.
You got friends.
I'm not going to share.
You got college football.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of tailgating to do.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Trish, let him be himself. Come on. So
she
yeah,
knows. She knows.
I know. So you have a great time. You know what I mean? Like, but I realize that you have to combine the two and work together with them. Like I'm saying, for dentistry specifically, which that's what I know, you got to make sure that if you're going to go do a course, you get the coursework, you understand the literature, and then you start doing the service, and then you start getting better and better training in the service. And then if you ever have any difficulties, you can go back to the education.
That's right. It's something you can fall back on, right?
Yeah.
It's something you can fall back on. And I don't know how relevant it is. Like, when we look at it on a resume, I mean, it's important, but I really, like you said, I really focus on, their responsibilities. How many people have they led? What's the dollar value of the organization they ran? What I mean? All that stuff, because that's important. Like, we've had this conversation. Like, we know people who are decent leaders and managers, but they don't understand the mindset of a $5 million organization versus a $40 million organization.
It's great, and this is a little bit off the topic that we're talking about today, but I realize, like, You're absolutely right. You know, we're creating expectations on some individuals that don't understand what you need to do in order to run a 1 million, a 5 million, a 10 million, a 20 million, a $50 million organization, let's say, because they haven't gone through it. They don't understand the challenges that go through that and all the breakpoints that they have to overcome in order to get there.
And I think that's where they, as leaders or in those specific roles in that organization, can fall back on an education at some point to understand that. You know what I mean? They can go back and fall back on a book, you know, or whatever the circumstance is. But yeah, I mean, that's relevant. If you don't have the experience to manage or lead a $50 million, you know, organization, how successful are you going to be? You're going to fail during that process.
Or you got to surround yourself with people
That's right.
that have done it before. I guarantee you, Mark Zuckerberg, when he built Facebook, I mean, we all saw the movie, The Social Network, and he was burnt a couple times.
Yep.
Right? But he was smart enough to surround himself with people that have done this before.
Yep.
You know, and there's something I heard the other day from Alex Hormozy, which is phenomenal. He says there's an 80-20 rule when it comes to your business. You need 20% of your employees to have been where you are now and bigger than you in order for you to be successful. Because if you don't have people in your team that have been in organizations that are doing $3, $5, $10 million, and they've been in organizations that are doing $1 million or $2 million, they're not going to help you come up with solutions to be able to scale your business.
We talk about that all the time. There's several people that struggle with the big picture. You know, they can't look past today. They can't look past tomorrow.
I mean, we look at our employees, if they're focused more on like what broom they're going to use, or, you know, who's out sick, or what drama is going on in their personal lives, and they are focused on what's present right in front of them, which is the patient.
Yep.
And that what happens when that happens, you know, standard of care go down.
Yep.
Mistakes happen, and issues happen all across the office, which again affect productivity.
Yeah, I love how you're leading into roles, right? I think some roles are more heavy on the education piece, and some are more heavy on the experience piece. Like if I have a sales role I need to fill, I think I'm going with experience on that, because they understand how to build a relationship, how to build a connection. I mean, they're not going to get that in school. You know, they're going to get business law, management, you know, blah, blah, blah.
And at what point does it come up to like the upbringing of the person, or really their genetic constitution?
Yeah.
Because we've met some super, super bright people that are in their 20s and mid-20s and early 30s, and they know more than 50-year-olds.
Yep.
And they're more involved, and they're more articulate, and they're developed, and they have more vision and more, you know, dreams than some guys that are 50 or 60 or have been doing this for 20 or 30 years. I've seen that happen time and time again.
I think it's self-motivation. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that
You don't think genetics has to do with that? They're gifted in some way?
I'm not the smartest person in the room, you know, and I'm not saying that I made it all the way there, because I'm not there yet. But, you know, I don't know. I guess that can be a topic for debate on another day, because it could probably be a long debate. But I think a lot of that has to do with, I think it has to do with, in my opinion, self-motivation. I think sometimes people my age think they've accomplished everything they can accomplish.
Yep, and they give them.
And they get comfortable. And they're like, okay, I'm done. I mean, I worked my tail off for 20, 25, 30 years, and I'm ready to put it on cruise control.
Everyone's in a rush to settle in the beach, you know. Everyone's in a rush to retire. But what is really retirement? What is really retirement?
These days? Great question.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like most people that retired actually completed their purpose?
No.
They didn't. And then they're upset and cranky old people.
And then they go back to being a greeter at Walmart.
Yeah, they're cranky old people because they haven't completed their purpose. You know, you look at people like Brandon Dawson, he sold his company and made a lot of money, and him and Natalie were retired. You know, they were in golf resorts and traveling, and he was the most miserable he's ever been in his life. Why? Because he wasn't focused on his purpose.
Yep.
His purpose is business and leadership and creating companies and, you know, the strategies that it takes to create a company. I don't see myself fully ever retired because I love what I do, and I love leading and developing and creating new projects and changing my vision 100 times a month. And and I don't see myself ever giving up on what I love to do. Even if I could retire financially, yeah, I might cut it down, but I don't ever see myself fully retired.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a TBD thing. You know, it's to be determined because the economic scope,
Jeremy, you're not retiring. I hope you know that.
the economic scope on this will be different, you know, in the coming years. And yeah, I think that.
What are you
it's
gonna
be
do?
interesting.
Smoke cigars and golf all day?
Are you acting like I'm gonna retire tomorrow?
I mean, I'm getting those signs.
what? There's no signs. I'm not going anywhere.
Good. That's the moment you stop caring about your purpose, you start how do you call this when you start this decomposing. You start decomposing, and by the time you know it, you're just dead weight, and you know you're pissing on yourself, and your life is over. So let's make sure that you stay focused on your goal and your purpose, and don't give up. Thank you for listening. Please hit like, subscribe. Dr. Alex Plains. Thank you.